welcome to the Sales to CEO podcast. This is your host, Louie Herron. This is the only automotive podcast that shows you how to go to the next level. It is my personal mission to coach and inspire and motivate you to go from sales to dealer principal or any level you desire. Stop making excuses and start making adjustments toward the future you want. Today, we are talking about value equals money. What's up, guys? Today we got a nice topic. We're talking money. We're talking the cash flow, baby. Listen, think about something for a second. How do we earn the money in the car business? How do we earn the money in business? It's by value. So I want to talk to you today about value and where you can get value from and what actually am I referring to as it relates to value. We're talking value in a couple different areas. We're going to point that out. Again, I just want to encourage you. Once again, thank you for listening to the podcast. Share it with somebody, another car person that you may know. We're just trying to help folks inspire them to grow to the next level. Like this, share this, and I would greatly appreciate that fee. Cost you nothing, but it would mean a lot to me, and hopefully you guys get a ton out of this. But look, there's been statements made all the time, and people hear it all the time, that money doesn't make you happy. Well, being broke doesn't make you happy either, right? So, I mean, and I tried them both. And I can tell you that the money's not the issue. The happiness is a mindset, right? But it doesn't mitigate that money is imperative in business, right? You can't grow your business with just enough money. So we have to determine and figure out how in the world are we going to make this money. You have a fiduciary responsibility to your employer if you're working for them to make them some money. In the process, you've got to make some money. If you're self-employed in some way, shape, or form, or you're in the car industry or any industry, you owe it to yourself to make sure. So what I will share with you is when value exceeds price, people will pay the money. When value exceeds price. I'll give you a couple examples. Like, for example, I go to the chiropractor, and part of that process when I first met my chiropractor is, you know, he came in, he did the meet and greet, he did some needs assessment, asked me how I was feeling, goes through the process because it's still a sales process because we're all selling. And we go through the process, we take the x-rays, I set a second appointment up, he brings me in the room, he wants to go through everything, every facet of where I'm off and what I need to do and how he can improve my body, how I was feeling, and hits me for $2,500, $2,000 right up front. This is what it's going to cost, this is how many weeks we're going to do it for. Didn't blink an eye because he knew his value, what he brought to the table was going to exceed the price. He knew that I felt like that if I could feel better, if he was a solution for me feeling better every single day, my low back pain would go away, I would obviously see value, and obviously it would be worth more than the $2,500 or the $2,000 that he was asking for, right? Think about this for a second, gas. Think about when fuel goes up and the price per barrel goes up and certain economic times cause that to happen, or whatever political window causes that to happen, whatever the case may be. When gas goes up, what do we do as consumers? We complain, we don't like it, but we pay it. We pay it because we realize the value is worth more than the price, because we need to get to and from work. We need to get the kids where they need to go. Think about stocks. Stocks drop. When it drops, what happens? It gets purchased because now people in the market perceive, man, that's a great value for the money. So they pick up that stock. Real estate. People make great deals. Those that flip houses. Why? They get a foreclosure. It's a good value for the end result. What's the end result? They're going to be able to make the money on the house. They're going to flip the house. The value exceeds the price. And again, value in this equation equals the end result for people. So as we're selling, we've got to really remember what is the end result for our client? What are we looking for? And so it brings me to a couple of points that I want to share with you that I think have value, no pun intended, on how you can bring value to yourself. Right? There's two things we got to really focus on, especially as we're selling cars. We got to figure out, you got to have the value in yourself, and you got to have the value in your product. Those are the two components that we've got to really iron out, and we've got to be so sold. You have to be sold yourself, number one, on you, and you have to be sold, number two, on the product. You've got to be so engaged in the believability, because you're into your core, you believe in what you're selling, right? So let's take the two components and let's split them up, because both of these values that I'm going to explain to you are going to equal more money in your pocketbook, and that's what matters most when you're in business, is to make the money. So in terms of creating value for yourself, think about this. How can you create value for you? I'm going to run through a couple of things that I think will definitely help you, and then we're going to flip over to the product side. But let's start with yourself. When I was selling cars, just early 90s, mid 90s, we had evidence manuals. No longer do we have these evidence manuals sitting on the tables anymore, but they used to be basically letters from consumers, testimonials from consumers, thank you cards, any articles about your product. They would all go in this evidence manual. And while you negotiated and you left the consumer by themselves, they had a chance to flip through this notebook or this evidence manual to kind of build value in you the person, to get to know you a little better. In that evidence manual would have stuff about you and your family and your hobbies and who you were and what school you went to, if you went to college, did you play any sports. All these things are building a story about yourself. Why? Because you want the consumer to have a high level of value in yourself as well, to make sure they feel comfortable making that decision with you, the individual. Since we don't have those, what do we have to create these evidence manuals? Look, with social media, video on Facebook, I can tell you when I had my Chrysler dealership, and this was back in 2015 when I bought that store, one of the things I did, although I will tell you we did still have evidence manuals on every single round table because the dealership did a lot of stuff. We did a lot of stuff in the community. We did a lot of stuff with athletes and kids and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And so we wanted those to know that when they did business with us, who are they doing business with? What do we like to be involved in from the community standpoint? Whether it was Habitat for Humanity, whether it was Relay for Life with Cancer Cause, or whether it was working with young people, we wanted our customers to know you have to do the same thing for you as an individual. One of the things I did at the dealership is I would do testimonial videos and put those on our Facebook page. Now, again, you should all have your own Facebook page, your own business page, and you should be using the same exact things, right? So you take the time to make that testimonial video when Miss Johnson came and bought a car from you, and she came from a city 25 minutes away. We take the time to interview her and just ask her, look, congratulations. Thank you so much for your purchase. Tell me, how was your experience? Let her speak on behalf of you. Post that. Learn how to brand yourself. Make sure that you're doing the things on social media, which we've talked about in other podcasts, other episodes. And we'll get into a little bit of that here in a second when I talk about your tools. But you've got to brand yourself. You are the expert. You are the one. There's got to be a difference in you and any automotive salesperson. Think about this. There's a ton of automotive sales professionals out in the country. What separates you? Right? What separates you? Even with getting attention on social media, making sure that people know who you are, where do you work, how long you've been there, and what you do. Your sold customers, do they remember you? Have you built any value with the customers that you've already sold? Think about that for a minute. How much contact do you keep up with the customers you sold? Or if you sold someone 3 years ago, do they even remember your name? This is something that's massive. And again, you've got to create that value in yourself. If you've sold somebody something 2 years ago, 4 years ago, they should never forget you, ever. Remember, obscurity is one of your biggest obstacles that you're going to come across, especially in the auto business or in business in general. What's going to separate you from anybody else? That's a huge piece. Let's go to the product for a second. Well, actually, let me back up. Let me say something to you. Just look at an example even at myself, right? If my content is good on my podcast or on my YouTube channel or on Facebook or my material's good, if nobody knows me, it doesn't matter how good it is. Remember, when people write a best-selling book, it's not the best written book. It's the bestseller. So it's the best marketer. It's the best person that gets the attention. It's not necessarily the best written book. There's a ton of phenomenal books that's never hit the New York Times bestseller list, but they're phenomenal books. But they haven't been marketed. They haven't been promoted. They didn't separate themselves of the value of why that book had the content and information that could help people grow in whatever capacity they wrote it in. Remember, it's a best-selling book, not the best written book. You have to make sure you present value in yourself. Let's flip to the product. Now, you've got yourself and you've got the product. Value and your presentation of your product. You've got to separate. Listen, when you're selling an import, Honda, Nissan, Toyota, 3 great brands, throw Kia in the mix and throw Hyundai in the mix. You've got 5 brands. Think about this for a minute. The government regulations on all these cars, whether it's EPA, safety regulations, they're all about the same. So how can you separate your product from those others? In your presentation, you need to make sure that when someone is listening to you give a presentation about your Honda product or your Nissan product, that all they can think about is how wonderful this brand is, how good this particular car is. And I'll tell you where you can have a leg up. Most salespeople aren't going to go to the nth degree. They're not going to go to the extra mile. That's where not only do you have an opportunity to share that gap, because most people aren't going to do it, but then what you can convey, if you blow them away in your presentation, blow them away on the technology, blow them away on the safety, getting third-party information, right? What is third-party information? Car and driver, right? NADA, Find articles about your product that you bring up for your consumer. Let your client know what's going on in the marketplace regarding your product. Remember, most salespeople are not going to do this. Most salespeople go through the meet and greet, the needs assessment. They find a car, they do a walk around, they do a test drive, they bring them inside, they write them up, and they try to ask for the business. That's it. That's it. That's the majority of salespeople in the country. You're not that person. You're the one that's trying to go to the next level. You're trying to get yourself to the next level. So again, it's imperative that when we first identify value equals money, number one, you're the value, and number two, your product is the value. So when you raise the value over price in yourself and in your product, they will pay you. All right, so let's talk about the tools you have that are available to help you get this done. All right, there are some tools. And all of these tools that I'm going to go over all helps with killing your obscurity. The fact that no one knows you right now, I want you to take a listen to this list because it's critical. Because again, not only is it important, but most sales guys, most sales women in the marketplace are not going to go this extra mile. So let's go with number one. Number one, we got our iPhone or our Android. All right, we've got the weapon of all weapons here with this handheld computer. Right, we've got to learn how to use this with video, text, obviously wearing out the phones. All of this stuff on your phone can get done, and it's critical in terms of making sure you're separating yourself and building that value. I'm going to throw YouTube at you for a second, which, by the way, you can monetize YouTube as a salesperson. I know some people around the country personally that do a phenomenal job, and they make a lot of money just off YouTube. I'm not talking about making the money off YouTube. What I'm talking to you about is building the value in yourself. YouTube channel. Do you have a YouTube channel? If you don't, why not? Your Facebook, right? Your LinkedIn. They're all gifts, guys. These are free gifts laid up for you. When I was selling cars in the 90s, we didn't have any of these gifts. These are laid up free gifts. You need to be maximizing Facebook, LinkedIn. Let me ask you this. Why don't you have a podcast? Think about that for a minute. Why don't you have a podcast? This also leads into potential TV show. And you think, TV show? What are you talking? Listen, you can create a small 3-minute show on Facebook and send it around and repurpose it on all different social mediums. Look, fun, entertaining, educating. People are on social media because they want to get educated. They want to feel entertained. That's the reason why they're there. Give them what they want, but separate yourself. Build some value in you, right? You could have your own radio show. You could have interviews. Guys, have you ever even thought about writing a book? Maybe even an ebook? I know you're probably thinking to yourself, what does this have to do with selling cars? This has to do with business in general. You bringing value to you, investing in yourself, guys. Take the money you're earning in the car business and start laying out some of these things. Come up with and get creative on how you can be the expert in the field of automotive. What can you do to be the expert in the field of automotive? I can assure you most of your competitors are not doing it. Let's talk about volunteering. These are tools, guys. Volunteering, giving back to the community, charity. Not only does it help your reciprocity, your karma, whatever you want to call it, it just feels phenomenal. Okay, your value of doing things in the community also give you credibility and social proof that you're somebody that's just not after the dollar. Because ultimately, guys, the more we give is the more we receive. You already know that. And you also know by giving, you actually receive and have a greater feeling than you actually do if someone gives you something. So there's so many different things. And I can tell you from my own personal experience with feeding homeless. There was a time in my life where if a homeless person would come up to me, I would give them money to get them away from me. This is how narrow-minded I was. This is how ridiculous. I'm embarrassed to tell you, but it's the truth. I just wanted the homeless guy to get away. Here's $5. Man, was I missing the boat completely. I have been totally revamped and I look at things in a completely different perspective now, to the point now to where I literally will partake in being involved with feeding the homeless, just driving down on a Saturday and taking 4 or 5 hours with homemade sandwiches and chips and an apple and bottled water, and just actually physically seeking these people out that are looking for help. And I'll tell you, I feel like $1 million. It's a feeling I can't explain. But the point is not that necessarily has to make social media. My point is simply this. When you're giving back, you're volunteering, you're being involved with a charity, not only is it just phenomenal reciprocity, not only are you doing something that is greater than the actual money itself, you're actually doing something that makes you feel better, gives you more confidence, makes you feel better to be able to perform everything else at a high level. All of these tools that I'm breaking down, your YouTube, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your podcast, your TV show, your radio show, your interviews, your books, your ebooks, volunteering, all this stuff, guys, This gives you reps, this gives you frequency, this gives you more skill, and ultimately it helps you when you're back at home base going one-on-one with your clients. All of these things help kill obscurity. You need to figure these things out to figure out how you can become highly connected to the consumer in the perception of value, because you are valued, you do count, you do matter, but you're going to have to do something to make yourself count and matter. Just by showing up is not enough, and I know you understand that. So you need to learn how to own your time, not just manage your time. Maximize your day. Every day get up and say to yourself, Monday, this is my day. This is my day, Monday. Not let Monday take advantage of you. Okay? So look, when you take the time to teach or write or put info out in the marketplace, it holds you to a higher standard. It holds you more accountable, and it builds confidence in you. And I'll tell you, it's hard for you to put yourself out there, right? If you're not doing them authentically, because if you're not congruent with yourself, you're not going to feel good about doing it. Okay. And I've been there. So I will tell you, like I always say, you want to live it, you want to learn it, you want to live it, you want to teach it, guys. That's the bottom line. So everything we're talking about, learn it, then let's do it, so that one day you can teach it. Guys, look, this is Louie Herron, your host, Sales the CEO. Again, this is how we increase our value, which increases our money. Listen, I hope to the next episode, you guys have great selling, but take these things to heart and let's get better. Let's go to the next level. Until the next episode, I'll see you on Sales to CEO. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Sales to CEO podcast. Look, real simple, do me a big favor. Number one, I'm totally grateful you took the time to listen, but share this, like, subscribe. This is how we build our network of growing people in the car industry to the next level. Again, like or share or subscribe right now. Until the next one, great selling, and let's go to the next level.